In this example here, I'm going to go through the blending tool using a bit more advanced functions. So the normal blend, and I'll just do a simple curve here, D key and / I don't want to stroke at the moment. The normal blend just copies between two shapes, paths, however you want to deal with it. And so the blend tool, you just go from edge to edge and then double click and change it to specified steps. And you can see we get different copies going from the beginning to the end. However, we're going to mix that up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to change the stroke, the profile of the stroke. And let's make this a bit thicker so you can see what's going on. So you can see now we have a thin to a thick to a thin stroke. And I'll do the same for the other one. And I won't make it as thick either. And let's move it off a little bit. So the first thing we can do is we can change the profile of the stroke. Select, click on an end, and then double click. And then boom. So the first thing we have is we now have a blend, a morph from different thicknesses, not just from the shape, but from different thicknesses as well. So I'll cancel that, undo that. And this is, by the way, why I have several artboards, because I can copy and paste. There we go. So I can do this one and I still have a copy. Let's put that in so I can compare and contrast everything I'm playing around with. And you can see I can go higher and higher and higher. I can change this as many times as I like because this is an effect that I can edit. It's not a problem at the end of the day. And if I look at my appearance panel, you can see it's a special type of group called blend, but I can come back anytime I like. So I'm on the black arrow tool, change it, and then I can say, oh, I want to change it, double click, and I can change the steps up or down, whatever I want. So it's permanently editable unless I change it. Next, as another example, I'm going to use the same sort of profile, but I'm going to put a gradient on. So I'm going to switch to the gradient. So I've got the stroke panel, and I'm now going to put a gradient on. And I will do the same on, in fact, let's do a different one. Select them both. Click, click, click. And you can see not only do we go from thickness to thickness, we also go from color to color. Right, so let's undo that. I will copy this again. And in fact, whilst I'm here, let's copy it on to a couple of the artboards. So let's go back to this. Let's set it so I can compare and contrast. 35, say, and you can see when I have a large number now, you can see I'm getting nice sort of effects, sort of like a blend, a gradient. And let's choose the next one. And what can we do with this? Well, I can play around. I can make it much thicker. And there we go. And let's choose a different profile. I can also do custom profiles. It's a bit slow. There we go. Let's choose something like this so you can see. And let's choose a normal gradient like we did before. And let's choose a different profile like this and make it a bit thicker. There we go. Select them both. blend. And the point of what I'm creating is I can use it as a background, a sort of pattern, anything like that. And I can have many varieties here. And you can see I'm creating and creating a whole load, but let's just choose a few, something like that. And do not forget, afterwards, I can still select one of the two shapes and then move it around and play around with it to produce a nice sort of pattern structure. Now, let's click on the first one. I'll choose that. Make it thicker again so we can, in fact, let's make it quite thick. There you go. Let's click on this one and let's make it not as thick. And let's give it the same gradient. Again, I'm deliberately doing a no fill, but you can change that, of course. And let's do a blend and see what we get. So now I'm getting a slightly different result. And again, I can change it and move it afterwards to produce whatever I want. So it works very, very well with gradients, with strokes, and with fills. So let's produce something a little simpler. So I'm going to work on squares this time. And instead of going from path to path, let's scale this down to say 10% uniform copy. There we go. And again, I will select them both. And again, I will choose a different profile. Where we go. Let's choose, let's choose this one here. And let's give them a different thickness. There you go, which is quite nice. And let's see what we get with this. I'll go from the same corner to the same corner and change the specified steps. And I can immediately get sort of like a lovely sort of pattern, a visual effect here. And again, do not forget, I can still move it afterwards to edit it to produce all sorts of structures, which works very, very well. So let's have a look at some other simple geometric shapes. You don't need anything too complicated, and it's very straightforward. So here, nothing complicated. I'll select them all. I will choose a profile again, make them thicker so we can see what's going on. I will copy them below. And of course, I can rotate them and play around with them, but let's not do that for the moment. And let's just set up. So again, I'll go from bottom to bottom. And let's try the next lot. You can, of course, go from different anchor points to different anchor points, but that will give it a twist. Well, let's do it on this one. And you can you can see what's going on with the star shape, because I did it as a different anchor point. And so you can see now we're getting a sort of twist. And you can create many varieties here, patterns, backgrounds, all sorts of things. And it works very, very well. The gradient, of course, is entirely up to you. And the let's move this somewhere. The angles are entirely up to you. Let's rotate this. So you can see now I'm rotating and I'm getting a really nice effect on a line. I can put it in a background. I can do it as clouds or stars or anything else like that. The blend tool is very, very good. And I mentioned at the moment I'm doing no fill, but and in fact, let's go to the artboard tool and let's copy down. When you make a copy with the artboard tool, everything on it becomes copied as well. I'm not worried about the number on this. And let's choose just a simple path, nothing complicated. I'll select them both. Let's make them thicker. You don't have to make them thick, but I'm making them thick so we can see it. And let's choose a different profile. And this time now I will change the fill. And you can't see the fill because these are straight lines. But let's see what we get and then see what happens when we edit afterwards. So here we've got our copies. Fine. I'll click on the pen tool and I can add, let's select it first, the first one, P for pen. There we go. And then I can add it. And you can see now the fill is coming in. And now I'm getting, this is almost like a series of dunes or something else like that, of hills or mountains or anything else, which I can then muck around with. And I can change the number as well, again, as we've done before. And bingo, I now have a very nice sort of backdrop, which I can change at any time. And of course, I can copy this, move this around to produce what I want. I can do hills, of course, if I wanted a sort of hill structure. And again, let's increase the stroke, give it a different profile. And in this case, of course, let's make it green. You see, something like this. And I can copy it, move it, select them. So it's very handy for creating landscapes, things like that. And do not forget, you can edit these after the fact with the white arrow tool to play around to produce whatever sort of result you want. And it works out quite nicely. These could be waves, these could be anything at the end of the day. And so this is how, on an advanced level, you can use the blend tool to very quickly create patterns, backgrounds, and of course, do not forget, once you've selected something, once you've blended it, you can always apply afterwards an effect. So I can go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and I can do a twist. And I can increase this. So I've got like lemon slices or something like that. Or let's try just selecting the first shape, Effect. Let's see if it will work on just one. And yes, you see, it works on just one. So we're blending from a twist to no twist. And you can create all sorts of examples here, and it works very, very well.